Now that I've saved my drawing, I can go on. Now, the color palette that I did create here is not very natural for like hills and trees and everything else. So it does give me the color palette that you pick, of course, does kind of influence the type of drawing that you might want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, and I guess I'll kind of have like these grayish, let's see, hills and stuff. So what you're going to be working with are your transform tools, your color effects tools, and possibly your display and other filters as needed. So I'm going to first do some free transform on this, and you'll see that I can scale up this object, move them over a little bit, and if I do this with multiple objects, so I'll just use the Alt key when I drag this object, I can actually create the appearance of hills or something. And of course, the way that I offset them can change the way that they appear. Now, if you want to use both colors exactly the same, you might find it's useful to add a little bit of a drop shadow here and there. Let's see, that drop shadow. Let's see, there's the color. Oh, I remember why this is happening. I should know. One of the things you have to be aware of when using this is that, of course, the color effects, the tint effects, are actually going to tint your objects as well. And even I forget that sometimes. So you have to be aware of how you do your tinting in order to get the right effect. You'll notice right now that I'm tinting this back just a little bit, and that will actually create the appearance of a hill. So that actually works pretty well. Then I'm going to put this one in the background, and you can arrange things by right-clicking and choose Arrange, Send to Back. But what is also very helpful is using the Control, Shift, and up and down arrows. So let me tint that back just a little bit. Then I can use the space bar to move this down. And I can adjust all three hills possibly, so that when I test my scene with Control Enter, you'll see that I have my three hills. So I'm getting to have the start of a look of a whole landscape. Now we can also go in and do other things, such as add new layers for other objects. So let's say that I want to have some sort of sky in the background. I might want to create a new layer, put it behind, and use the same library item, the original circle, scale it up, and then maybe change it to this blue. So I will go to the eyedropper tool and click on that color, and then, oops, actually I think I need tint now that I'm looking at it. So color effect, tint, let's choose that blue color, and we'll make it all the way. Even I forget sometimes to go to the right tool. I can then lock that layer, and of course give that layer some sort of name. So I'll call that background, or maybe I can call that sky. This can be hills. Maybe I'll make a new layer, and this will be my clouds. Now, one of the things that you'll find is very, very useful is to group elements together. So let's take an original circle out of here, and this is going to be some sort of cloud system. So I'll probably use these light grays that I have in here. We could go to white, but you'll find that light grays will work as well. So I'm going to go to Color Effect, Tint, click on the light color there, and I'm just going to start to make multiple copies of these, scale them down a little bit, stretch them out, do whatever you need in order to make maybe the appearance of a cloud. So there we go. We have kind of the cloud shape that we might want to use. And then what we can do, and this is something that I want you to do a lot in this drawing, using this drawing technique, is either group elements together or nest them into a new symbol. If you were to group things, you can just choose Control G, and that turns it into a group. The problem with that group is that you don't have the ability to do things such as apply other filters or effects to them. So this is why having a symbol is usually a better idea. So I can ungroup that with break apart, or I can choose ungroup. If we break apart by right-clicking or choosing Control-B, we do want to make sure that we only do it one time. Otherwise, it will go all the way back to a shape like that, and we don't want to do that. So let's undo that with Control-Z if you have broken it apart until you got to see the black. And instead, we're going to convert this to a new symbol. Now, another way of converting an object to a symbol is dragging it. So since these items are selected, just click and drag, and I'll call this Cloud Base 1. Now, one thing that you might want to do with your clouds is give them a little transparency. So you might remember that we can give transparency using the color effect and changing our alpha setting. But one of the things to watch out about is that each object inside is given its own separate alpha transparency settings. So what we want to do is use this in conjunction with display and blending set to layer. That way we get the alpha for the object as a whole instead of the individual items inside. Now we could possibly duplicate that item with the Alt key held down, maybe scale it down a little bit. Maybe even reverse one side, skew it a little bit that way. And you'll see we get a little bit more complexity when we overlap these objects and do some fun things with them. Now we can select all of those together with the Shift key held down, and I'm still on the free transform selection tool because it does allow me to select objects. But now that since they're all selected, I can now convert those into a symbol as well. Now we can right-click again, choose Convert to Symbol, or even faster, just press F8, and now we'll call this Cloud 1. Then we can repeat that process by possibly drawing a complete new set of clouds by taking the original circle out and just repeating that over. You can also duplicate the existing cloud and change it around, change the scale, flip it around. The only problem is if you're not clever with it, you'll look like you have a repeating pattern, and you don't necessarily want that. However, like this one, since I have that one up in the corner and this one on the side, we don't really see that they're exactly the same object. So you'll see that nesting objects like this into a nested symbol is a really good idea and can help you create more complex objects. If you've brought in some other bitmaps, you can keep them there. Just be aware these ones that say bitmap 1 and 2, those are the ones that we copied and pasted, just because I forgot to say something about that. We're going to close our video here and go on to the next thing, which is about masking symbols. But one thing that I want to point out is if at any time you delete the original symbol, so I'm going to press the delete. I just saved my file too. Press delete. You'll see that everything disappears. And the reason why is because everything is based upon that original symbol being inside of it. So that's one thing that you can do periodically to check to make sure you're doing it right. To undo anything, of course, do Control-Z until you get back to your original drawing there. Or what you could do is, since I had already saved it, just click on Revert. And that would revert to the version that I had before, or when I saved, before I deleted the original circle. And so save your work, and let's go on to masking using symbols.